Greetings, everyone. Um, I saw that a movement called ADOS recently developed in America. And the thing is, unlike Black Lives Matter, ADOS apparently has the support of many leading voices in the black community, right? But I would just like to posit an alternative take on this movement because I feel like it is a positive movement. I think that ultimately an organization like this would have to be formed in the interest of reparations, right? Because I'm sure during a reparations um, movement, there would have to be a delineating and there would have to be a separation of those in the black community who directly descend from people who were enslaved in America, right? And so ADOS represents American descendants of slavery, right? And so what they have done on the surface is they have begun to galvanize a movement uh, for the recognition of blacks in America who particularly descend from slavery, right? And so in the context of Jamaica, there would be a Jamaican descendants of slavery, or in the Bahamas, a Bahamian descendants of slavery, or in Guyana, the Guyanese descendants of slavery, so on and so forth. Okay, yeah, I mean, we get it. I totally understand where they're coming from. I think it was Yvette Carnell who gave a breakdown, which I found to be an insightful breakdown in 60 seconds. But what I would say, I thought we already knew that this is what we would have to do. In fact, I think the US government, any regime that takes power and gives credence to the reparations movement and decides to want to actually dispense some resources or some funds, they would obviously have to consider those who directly descend from the plantations in America. All right. So I don't think the person who migrated from Nigeria was ever a part of the consideration, or the person who migrated from the Bahamas, or the person who migrated from Jamaica, Barbados. You see, I don't think any of them were ever a part of the consideration. So I would ask, why the sudden move for delineating the people in this way? Why the sudden move for polarization at such a critical time? Okay, while we are in the process of galvanizing ourselves as a global African united people, while the potential for this has become more ripe, while it's become more um, feasible in the minds of black people around the world, right? Suddenly, here comes a movement to polarize some black people um, in the black community in America. Now, here's my alternative take. That's part of it, but here's my alternative take. Um, while that's important, I think that was always obvious. So I don't think that needs a movement. I think that's very clear, right? Only those who descend from the plantations in America would potentially benefit from reparations, right? But if there's no substantial reparations agenda in the US legislature right now, if there's no substantial reparations movement at this time right now, why the sudden move to polarize our people? Okay, is it because they don't want a united black people in America? Is it because they want to create a Willie Lynch mentality? Is it because they want to create tension and a rift in this new voting bloc? Because while they are all members of the voting public, now there's a movement to make them feel like they are not the same people. And I see many so-called scholars who are bolstering this with the weight of their credentials. And I see many speakers on YouTube who are bolstering it with the weight of their credentials. But if you consider it, if there's no substantial reparations movement on the table, what's the purpose of all of the division? Why would we want to seek to separate ourselves in such a way? Especially with something that is so obvious. We know it. Okay, in the Bahamas, there are people from all walks of life, people from all around the world, black people from all around the world, right? But only those who have the surnames that apply to the various plantation owners, because we have the plantation owners' surnames, right? So only those with the surnames of the plantation owners have any claim to what we call generation property, right? The property is actually what the property that was owned by the plantation owner, right? But now we inherited it, and it's not land that we can sell or use for any. We can't transfer the title to anyone, right? We can't own title for it. We can just really get a piece of property on this land. Granted, we have this surname. Granted, we have this particular lineage, right? So that's so obvious. Why would they want to make a movement right now when America needs a united black voting bloc for the next election, right? So perhaps they want to create this rift so that the people can't unify themselves, and perhaps they can create some permanent divides. Because if you listen to the Willie Lynch letter, these people understood how to pull the strings of the black community. So let's not let them pull our strings in such a way that we forget that we are actually fighting against ourselves, for something that is so plainly obvious. I mean, I don't think it needs a movement. I agree with it, I support it, but I think that's for a time when there's a substantial reparations movement in progress, right? Right now, that is not the time. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. One love.